Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
Welcome to episode 54 of Talk Smart with
Pugh.
I'm McCart, that is young Joe Pugh over there, and I'm Andrew McCart. Joe, it has been a while since I've spoke to you, young man. What you been up to? Because there's been no boxing events, really. Nothing really to talk about. So what have you been up to?
You know, Andrew, I'm always up to something, mate. I'm always trying to get to some events. Went to Denzel Bentley versus Zazi last week. Very, very good knockout by Denzel Bentley. Sticks him right back in there amongst the best of certainly that domestic division. He's ranked number 2 in the WBO. And then you had Alois Jr. on the undercard, who's an unbelievable prospect against a fellow undefeated prospect in Berardi. A very solid night of boxing at the York Hall. And yeah, we move on. Was meant to be Catterall Prograde this weekend. I know you was meant to be in Manchester. Unfortunately, that's been rescheduled to 2 months' time.
Yep.
So no boxing this weekend unless you talk about certain exhibition between Mayweather and Gotti. And then next weekend we go straight into your favourite, Andrew, of Misfits Dublin, which I personally can't wait for. Having never been to Dublin.
Have you never been to Dublin?
I've never been to Dublin.
Well, I know you like to have a little bit of a swally, as we say up here in Scotland, so you're definitely going to enjoy Dublin, mate. You'll definitely, Temple Bar is your scene. Yeah, Misfits might not be my scene, but it is your scene, and I know how excited you are about it, so enjoy that. But the reason I suppose we jumped on this call, Joe, is because we finally got announced the undercard for Bivol and Beterbiev. Now, the main event in itself, which we'll touch on after we discuss the undercard, is unmissable. I think that's probably one of the best fights this year. 2 undefeated fighters, 2 different styles, 2 contrasting styles that were going to gel perfectly. So many variables in that fight, what could happen, what will happen, and whatnot. So before we talk about the main event, let's talk about the undercard. Now, I saw a couple of people online saying it's not the best of cards that they've seen from Saudi, this, that, and the next thing, but I guess we've been spoiled. But I still like the card. There's 4 world title fights on that card, including the main event.
It's a fun card. It's a fun card. It might not have maybe the heavyweight star power that some Saudi cards have had, but there's one heavyweight fight which for me is probably the first fight of that kind of chapter has been fight of the year so far. That certainly was I was at in Frazer Clarke and Fabio Wardley, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think it's a really fun card. That's what I call it. I think, yeah, it might not have the mega fights that we've had on previous cards, but realistically, I think when it translates to action, I think it maybe could have been one of the better ones.
Definitely. And you said it's a fun card because, like I said to you, Eubanks Jr.'s on it. We've got Ben Whittaker on it. We've got Joe Cordina, who I want to talk about against Shakur Stevenson, which has been talked about for a few years now when Joe Cordina won the IBF title the first time against Ogawa. You've got one of my favourite fighters in Jai Opetaia against Jack Massey. Now, that's a fight that people shouldn't sleep on because Jack Massey is a good fighter. He's only ever lost to Ray Akpor and Joseph Parker. He had a good win last time out against Isaac Chamberlain. He's fighting against Jai Opetaia, who I I'm high on. I really, really like. You've got Skye Nicolson and Raven Chapman, the first female fight from Riyadh season to take place. You've got the return of Chris Eubanks Jr., like I said. You mentioned the British heavyweight title between Wardley and Clarke. If they continue this rematch and just make it round 13 like we've spoken before in the past with rematches, just continue it on from the first fight, we're in for a treat. But let's break down the fights. Let's start with Shakur Stevenson and Joe Cordina. I like this fight. People are probably going to say, oh, how does Joe Cordina deserve a shot after getting beat last time out against Kakachi, getting stopped and whatnot? Maybe the weight for Joe was too much, to go to the well too many times at super featherweight. Who knows what the problem was there, if there was any problem there. Joe didn't make any excuses, so fair play to him. But it's clearly a voluntary defense for Shakur Stevenson. And this is a fight that's been talked about for a good few years now, maybe 2-3 years, because I interviewed Joe in Cardiff when he knocked out Ogawa in the second round, I think it was. I interviewed him immediately after the fight, and we spoke about Shakur Stevenson. And I think Shakur Stevenson was the WBO super featherweight champion at the time. Don't
Yep,
quote
I
me,
think you're right.
I think he was a WO champion back then. And Joe was like, listen, I want that fight. I want Shakur Stevenson. So he's been wanting Shakur Stevenson for a long time now. And he's finally got it. Albeit it's not for the unification down at super featherweight. It's now for the WBC lightweight world title. And I like this fight. I really, really do. I think Joe Cordina will fill into lightweight perfectly, man. He's not small, Joe. He's not like he was a big super featherweight, so I think he'll be a very, very solid lightweight. I don't know if he'll be bigger than Shakur in terms of height, but yeah, I like this fight for Joe and for Shakur, by the way, because Joe's a good fighter. Joe's a very, very good fighter when he isn't killing himself to make the weight. So we'll wait and see. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, first of all, very pleased for Joe. Absolutely love Joe Cordina. For me, was probably the fighter I was most excited about coming out of Olympics 2016, and it kind of did translate, as well as obviously Boazzi, Coley, etc. And he's give us fantastic fights, really fantastic fights. The Rakhimov fight was obviously excellent. Then an excellent knockout in the Agawa fight. It was really, really kind of a big time for Joe Cordina, and then that all come to a halt with the Anthony Kakachi fight in May. But it was no secret. I think everyone kind of knew in fight week that the weight may have been a struggle for him. And in the same breath, Shakur Stevenson's moved up to lightweight for a reason. He obviously feels more comfortable at lightweight. So I think that will make it a better fight. I think they're both at the weights they're happy at. He's got an extra few pounds to play with, Joe Cordina. And we've seen Joe, even at super featherweight, had the power. So with that couple of few more pounds, can he bring that up? And I think it's going to be an excellent fight. I really do. Don't sleep on Joe Cordina. And not just saying that as a Brit, but I really think it can bring Shakur Stevenson a lot of tests he hasn't seen before, because Joe has got the skill, he's got the power, and he's got that dog in him as well.
Yeah, well, listen, talk about that dog. We saw that in the Kakachi fight. I mean, he was hurt in that Kakachi fight, but he didn't go down. He didn't want to quit. He kept on fighting. Do you know what I mean? And he was almost like sort of like willing to trade with Kakachi when he was hurt. So he has got that dog on him, and he has that punch that can turn your lights out. Just go to Agawa, and he's got that, and he can produce a fight of the night or a potential fight of the year candidate, because we just need to go to Rakhimov. So this, in itself, has all the ingredients to be a good fight. For Shakur Stevenson, he's had his critics of late where he's too defensive and he punches like from the back foot. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't put anything into his shots. He's always shoulder rolling, that Philly shell. But love him or hate him, Joe Cordina's going to fight him, I think, in this fight. I think Joe Cordina's going to be on the front foot. I think that's, or maybe try and be that cat and mouse to begin with. But I think Joe put that weight over the front knee and try and land that big right hand at some point. Even though Joe's got that power that can turn your lights out, he's a skillful boxer as well. So this will be a battle of IQ in there as well. People are going to say Shakur beats Joe in IQ, obviously, because it's Shakur Stevenson. But Joe, don't sleep on Joe, like you said. This is going to be an exciting fight. And I know we are those Brits. We're going to be sort of a little bit leaning towards Joe. But I kind of hope this is the fight where Shakur Stevenson opens up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I think he has had his critics, so I think maybe if he opens up a little bit to silence his critics, that will make it a good fight, and that might give Joe more of a possibility of winning this fight. If that makes sense? Rather than Shakur being so defensive, do you know what I mean, and scoring them points to win the rounds. Maybe he'll open up a little bit and try and push Joe back and whatnot. So it's an exciting fight, like you said. Don't sleep on it, and I'm happy for Joe.
Yeah, so am I. And I think, as you say, it's got the potential to be a great fight, but on the same kind of hand, it could be a little bit of a stinker if Shakur does want to kind of get on the back foot like he has done in his past 2-3 fights. But only time will tell. And yeah, excellent opportunity for Joe Cordina to get straight back in there with a world title and in there with an elite world champion.
Yeah, let's talk about the return of Chris Eubanks Jr. Now, there was a lot of talk about the Canelo fight, the Crawford fight. Still talks about Conor Benn. But he's been, by the time he steps foot in that ring, that'll be over a year since the Liam Smith rematch. So can you can you really blame him for taking a fight like this? Because there is a lot of talks of the Crawfords and the Canelos and whatnot. I don't blame him. Do you know what I mean? There is, if you want to start stepping into the ring with Canelo, you can have a year out the ring. Do you know what I mean? You need to be well prepared. Ring rust gone, in training camp, stay in, come out this fight, go back into camp again if you want this Canelo fight in May or whatever. And Kamau Zerameta is game. He's tough. He's only lost 2 fights, and I think that was Golovkin and Munguia. So a good test for Chris Eubanks. One, I expect him to come through. I don't think I'm expecting any trouble for Chris Eubanks Jr. in this fight, albeit he's been out the ring for over a year. I do fully think that he's going to come through this fight, maybe even get the stoppage in this fight, same as what Munguia and Golovkin did all them years ago. But I'm happy for Chris. When Chris fights, we all tune in. Do you know what I mean? So there's another element to that card which is going to bring that little bit of excitement. So I'm looking forward to this fight. And like I say, I don't blame him for taking this fight, because people are going to say, well, he was talking about Crawford, he was talking about Canelo. Yeah, Crawford just fought and Canelo's got a fight already, so that they ain't coming anytime soon. So it's a good fight, and happy to see Chris back.
I'll be interested to see what Chris says if he's questioned, and he probably will be questioned by the likes of Frank Warren about why the Hamza Shiraz fight didn't happen. Because the Hamza Shiraz fight what would it have been? Only 3-4 weeks before that. Obviously, you've got 21st, and then you've got the 12th. So I want to know why. But if there is a clear plan to get ring rust off for Zerameta, and there's a plan in place to get a huge fight for after that, I understand the risk and reward factor that comes with a Hamza Shiraz fight. But in the same breath, if there isn't a clear plan, we need big fights. And the Hamza Shiraz fight at Wembley would have been massive. So as long as we've got a plan for Chris Eubanks Jr., as long as he stays active, and as long as he gets Zerameta out of the way and pushes on to something really big. Because don't forget, whilst he hasn't been in the ring since early September last year, it's a statement win. It's a statement avenge win against Liam Smith. So he's lost a lot of momentum. He needs to pick that momentum back up and just get back into the big fights that we all want for Chris Eubanks Jr. Because as you say, we all tune in.
Exactly. And you talk about the Hamza Shiraz fight. Hamza Shiraz maybe be the future. And does Chris Eubanks want to lose or fight somebody with that risk reward factor like you mentioned there? And maybe the September card was too soon. We don't know how long Chris has been in camp or how long he's been back training. You just need to go on Instagram and Twitter and see that he's been out in Vegas and enjoying what is the fruits of his labor. Because I know he enjoys poker. I know he enjoys playing poker, so he's been out there doing that. So we don't know if that maybe have been too soon for him, the Hamza Shiraz fight, in terms of the camp needed to fight somebody like Hamza Shiraz, because you need a good 8-week, 10-week camp for Shiraz, because he is that powerful, tall, lanky, skillful middleweight, which is going to cause problems for nearly every single fighter in this division. So yeah, the Shiraz fight might be there in the future. Who knows? Chris Eubanks probably wants to fight for money now, maybe. I don't think the world titles he cares much about. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe it is more financial gain and get out, because he's probably 33, 34 years old. It's 3 or 4 fights left. Maybe who knows what's left in his career. So there is factors, but I would like to see the Shiraz fight against Chris Eubanks Jr. I think Hamza Shiraz deserves it. I think he's been a good ambassador for British boxing. But listen, Tyler Denny for Hamza Shiraz. I mean, Tyler feels invincible. He said he feels invincible right now, but that's not a given right now. Although I do think maybe Hamza Shiraz is the favourite, but Tyler Denny's proven a lot of doubters wrong in the past, so it'll be a tough fight. So yeah, it's a good fight. I expect, like I said, I expect Chris Eubanks Jr. to get past Zerameta quite easily, to be honest.
I like it, Andrew. And yeah, again, hopefully he does, and hopefully we do see the big ones. What are we talking about next, mate?
Oh,
we going heavyweight?
Well, you mentioned big ones there. I was like, listen, let's talk about
there you go.
Let's talk. See, segued into this beautifully. Let's talk about it. Like I say, I hope they just continue this rematch, this second fight from the first fight. Just start round 1 as if it's round 13 of the first fight and just go for it like they did, because That was edge of your seat type fight. Sometimes when you watch a fight after a 12-round fight and a fighter, you've seen it many times, Joe. You've been in boxing quite a wee while now. When a fighter thinks, especially for the British title, after that 12th round, a fighter will raise his arms, right, and try and convince that last round was his, or he thought he won, to get the crowd drawn. Both Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke didn't raise their arms. They went back to the corner, exhausted. Do you know what I mean? It was a battle of attrition in there. They absolutely put everything on the line in that fight. And am I happy it was a draw? Maybe I am now, because I get to see it again. You know what I mean? Selfishly, I might be a little bit happy that it was a draw, because if the first fight was anything to go by, I'm expecting the second fight to be better, because both men do not want this to go to the judges this time. I think they both want to settle it in that ring, and by settling it, they need to have knockdowns. They need to really put it on each other, and this is going to be explosive. I think it is. I think this is going to be. I think there will be tactics in this game. In this fight, I think they will have the game plan. But Mike Tyson said it best: once you get punched in the face, them tactics are gone. And I expect that to happen in this fight, because both of them are just dogs, man. Do you know what I mean? They've got it in them to just have a fight, and I think that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a fight, and I cannot wait.
I genuinely don't really have much to say about this fight, apart from just watch the first one and someone tell me why that's not deservedly on a Riyadh season card. When two fighters leave as much as they did leave in the ring that night, they deserve to reap the rewards. And they had nowhere else to go. I genuinely believe their only logical place to go was meeting that ring again. And I cannot wait. Probably the fight I'm most looking forward to outside of the main event, obviously. And please, let's get a definitive winner. And yeah, because it is win or bust. It really is. Because that British title, if Fabio wins, then you'd like to think he's probably done there.
Mm-hmm.
And he will move up and enter that plethora of fighter where you are probably more than likely staying in Saudi Arabia. We know he's already fought there against David Adelaide last year, but it's that next step up. It's the step where you are talking the top 10 heavyweights. And for the loser, they'll be coming back to England with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 great fights raring to go. But there's a big difference. Winner, riches in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
Kind of eliminators for world titles, positioning yourself. Loser, cold England rebuild time.
Yeah, listen, I'm just going to... Fabio, Frazer, if you're watching this, man, I know your coaches are going to be mad at me for saying this, but just go for it, boys.
Just that's me. That's me trying to say. Raise the stakes to make them.
I'm just going to plead with them right now. Just go for it, boys. Just go for it. We know how the first fight was tough. We both saw, I think the whole world watched that fight, saw how much that took out of both men. Do you know what I mean? So listen, let's make it a 4-round fight. Let's go. Let's get a decider. I'm excited for this fight. I really, really am. It's probably because I've been starved of boxing for so long, Joe. My last real show was I done Barnsley show, but my last show from before that was the 5v5. So I'm really starved of boxing right now, and I just cannot wait till it kicks off again. We're talking Wembley in a couple of weeks. We're almost there. We're getting there. So yeah, I think we can jump down to the cruiserweights, the small big boys. Then let's talk about Jai Opetaia, who I'm very high on, who I rate highly. He's up against Jack Massey, and I like Jack Massey. Jack Massey he's just a nice family man, and I like that about Jack. And he's tough. He is game. He's tough. I think he'll try and put it on Jai Opetaia. And we've seen what Brady Prescott did against Jai Opetaia in the rematch there when you put it on him. Do you know what I mean? And I hope Jai Opetaia, he fights fire with fire as well at some point. So this is the fight which I think is going to be the sleeper. I think people are going to think, oh, it's Jai Opetaia, Jack Massey. They don't really know who, maybe the boxing world, the Americans or what, might not know who Jai Opetaia is or Jack Massey is. But trust me, this fight, I think it's going to be the sleeper fight. Do not sleep on this fight, please. This is going to be a great, great fight. Trust me.
it's hard to kind of pick against Opetaia when you look at his recent form against Brits, and the Brits were of a level. But what you've got to look at is, would Jack Massey beat the two previous fighters, Ellis Zorro?
Mm.
And then when you look at that, potentially he would. And now he's got the European title. I honestly think Jack Massey is so deserving of this fight because he took the Isaac Chamberlain fight in very, very short notice.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wins that fight and he gets the opportunity. But let's not forget, he's always attempted greatness. He went up to heavyweight to fight Joe Parker not so long ago.
And
Do
listen,
you know what I
done
mean?
well.
So, and he done well against Joe Parker, really well, especially when you see what Joe Parker's gone on to do. So I really praise Jack Massey. I wish him the best, but in the same breath, you know it is hard to pick against Joe Opetaia in the form he's in right now.
Mm-hmm. And he is probably the number one guy in the cruiserweight division right now, with Chris Billam-Smith probably a close second. You could probably argue maybe Chris maybe number one, but the Ring Magazine belt is with Jai Opetaia, so he's the number one guy in this cruiserweight division right now, and it's definitely a fight that's going to be exciting. So don't sleep on that one, like I keep saying. Ben Whittaker returns against Liam Cameron. Liam Cameron, we know about what he's been through, so it's good to see him get a big opportunity like this against Ben Whittaker. Last time out, I think he lost against Lyndon Arthur.
Yep, I was there.
Cameron,
Yep.
but gave another good fight. His game, I think for Ben, this is going to be a fight where I think we'll see less of the showmanship. We'll still see it. Don't get me wrong. We'll still see the flashiness, the showmanship, but I think we'll probably see a little bit less of it. I think Ben will probably want to try and get Liam out of there because Liam's probably had 5 or 6 losses and not been stopped or in them losses. So yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit more, maybe spite. I think maybe spite might be the wrong word. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but you know what I'm trying to say. I think we'll see a little bit more from Ben Whittaker in this fight against Liam Cameron.
Yeah, look, Cinderella story, Liam Cameron. But I was there for Liam's last fight against Lyndon Arthur, and as soon as the final bell rung, I was standing next to Lee Eaton, Liam's manager, and I said, perfect fight for Ben Whittaker. Perfect fight for Ben Whittaker. So I'm very pleased that's come off.
It's down to you, Joe, is it? You made this fight happen. Well done, mate.
Well, I'm not going to take all that credit, but I will take 5%.
Good. I hope you take it.
But yeah, well, very, very well deserved.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that fight. And before I jumped on here, I was actually just scrolling on Instagram, as you do. And Liam Cameron put on his story, he said, all I'm seeing is smash up Ben Whittaker. Give him some respect, guys. And that's the type of guy Liam Cameron is. He's a great, great guy. And so is Ben Whittaker. I love Ben Whittaker. I've said before, he's so different to how he is inside the ring. It's like there's a switch that goes off. And yeah, really, really like that fight. And we do continue because it feels like we've been talking for a very long time. And this is the undercard of one of the greatest fights, certainly the light heavyweight division seen in 20 years, and one of the greatest unifications fight this side of the millennium.
Exactly, mate. And that's what I'm saying. That's why the card is good. Look at the fights we've just rattled off now. Do you know what I mean? These are all good fights. And then you chuck in the first female fight for the Riyadh season, and Skye Nicolson and Raven Chapman. Great fight as well. This is another world title fight. I think I said to you, that's 4 world title fights on one card. We don't see that. We don't see 4 world title fights on one card. Do you know what I mean? Especially not here in the UK. So I think it's a great, great test for Skye Nicolson. Raven Chapman's tough. She's durable. She's been in there with some very good girls. So yeah, but you know, Skye Nicholson's that fighter though, is it? I think she's lost maybe a round or 2 rounds in her whole career, and I think she's still questioning if she did lose them rounds. But yeah, it's a good fight, and being that this is the first female fight on Riyadh season, maybe both girls are going to show up, I think, and we're in for a good little cracker here, like they always do. The girls are putting on shows right now.
Yeah, look, we've been wanting this fight for a very long time. It seems like, well, Raven's always been the poster girl for Queensbury, the Queen of Queensbury, and now with Katie Taylor tied up with the MVP promotion with Serrano. I'm not quite sure what's happening, whether that's being rescheduled with the Mike Tyson card. I think it is. It looks like Skye Nicolson at the minute is a little bit the poster girl of Matchroom. So it is real Queensberry versus Matchroom, if you like. Not on a
Eddie needs a win.
5v5 card, but if you look like it, it will be. And at the minute, Queensberry are on fire in form, and Skye will want to be stopping that.
And I think Skye, that again, if you want to sprinkle a little bit more into this this pot, it's there. Eddie needs this win. Eddie's probably, I don't know, what is he? If you include the Kakachi and the Cordina fight, that's 6-0 to Frank. Has Eddie got one? There's a fight.
Yeah, Chev beat Ellis.
Yes, okay, so that's 6-1.
I feel like there might be another one. But...
I feel like there might be another one that I'm missing as well. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Eddie's getting smashed right now, so he's wanting this win. But it's not about Eddie. It's about Skye defending a title against Raven Chapman, 2 undefeated girls, and it's got another great fight. And then we've also got I think it's a Saudi fighter making his debut, which is good to see. A Saudi fighter coming through and fighting in their home country in Riyadh season, and Muhammad Alakal, I think you pronounce his name. So it's good to see. I think we're going to see more and more, going by what we see from the Mike Tyson gym out there. We see a lot of kids taking up boxing and stuff like that. So I think we will see a lot more Saudi-born fighters coming across in Riyadh season. And what better platform they've got, man? Riyadh season, you live in Riyadh, Mike Tyson gym. If you want to be a fighter and you live in Saudi Arabia, I mean, it's there for you. It really, really is. Do you know what I mean? But Joe, like I said, the unmissable fight, I'm going to call it. This is the unmissable fight. Artur Beterbiev, 20-0, 20 knockouts against Dmitry Bivol. I think he's 23-0 with 12 knockouts. All right. 2 contrasting styles. You've got this front foot marauder who punches in bunches, all angles, in Artur Beterbiev. Sometimes he squares up his feet, right, when you're up against the ropes. Then you've got this boxing genius, I'll say, in Dmitry Bivol, who, if you go by the way he fights, his pad work and what his training, how he trains, this guy's a monster in his own right. He might not have the punching power or the front foot style that Beterbiev does, but he's got this boxing IQ, which is almost second to none in this light heavyweight division. And he doesn't get drawn into a fight. You seen the Canelo fight when Canelo's trying to bait him into a fight. He's like, no. This is my ring. I'm dictating what's happening in this ring. So that'll be interesting to see how he can dictate what's happening in that ring against somebody that just doesn't care what's coming at him in Artur Beterbiev. And can he keep Artur Beterbiev off him for 12 rounds? It's just got this fight is just amazing to me. And I said this all along, when this is the fight I wanted. This is the fight I wanted to see when it was announced. I think this is the one I wanted because of being I wouldn't say I'm a boxing purist, but I do love the sport. And this one excites me. I want to say it. This fight excites me more than what Usyk and Tyson Fury does. That undisputed. That whole, you've got the undisputed heavyweight championship. Yeah, that's all good and all that. But this fight, just the way the styles, they're both undefeated as well. It just for me, this has just got my juices flowing because of there's so many variables and how this fight can go. And I don't know where it will go. That's why it's a 50-50 fight, and I don't know where it can go. It's just like I'm mumbling my words because I'm so excited about this fight, Joe. I love this fight.
Question: are you more excited about this fight than you was Spence Crawford? A similar type of fight, undisputed, 2 undefeated guys.
And I'll say this, and this is probably just me playing my not this because I've interviewed Bivol a few times and I've spoke to Bivol. Maybe because I've got to know him a little bit. Maybe that's why I'm excited about this fight and probably leaning towards that. But I think they're almost similar. Does that make sense? I think they're very, very similar to the Crawford and Spence fight. The thing is as well, but you could probably argue that people knew that Spence couldn't make 147 before it happened, and then it all came out that it was the weight drained and this, that, and the next thing after the fight. These two don't have a problem making 175. Do you know what I mean? The only question mark that I do have on this fight is Artur Beterbiev has been injured his last 3 fights. He's had to postpone his last 3 fights. are these injuries, being that he's 40-year-old coming up, are these injuries starting to take his toll on his body? Has he? Do you know what I mean? He's been in tough fights, so all these little niggling injuries, are they starting to take a toll? Is his body starting to almost give up on him, being that he is 40-year-old? Because it's all right being a heavyweight, being 40-year-old, you don't have to make weight. Do you know what I mean? But being these lighter weights, making weight, it gets harder and harder and harder as you get older. That's why we see fighters as they get older go through the weights. But that's the only question mark I really have on this fight. Other than that, I am buzzing for it, mate. I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, I don't really buy that question mark, to be honest, because people said that for the Callum Smith fight, and look what happened to Callum Smith. I think Father Time's very unpredictable. It can catch up on some people in their early 30s. It can catch up on some people in their early 40s. And I think with the lack of miles Beterbiev has on the professional clock and his style, he'll only take a few punches, and he obviously don't go the distance. And I'm not saying he's a defensive mastermind, but he takes a hell of a lot on the gloves in kind of motion to coming forward as he gets off the ropes. And I think the archetype of that is the Anthony Yard fight last year. And yeah, I can't wait for the fight. I think it is a genuine 50-50. I really can't call it. I really don't know. I really don't know. And like you say, two polar opposite styles. And
yeah.
you just got to pray. You just got to pray that it translates to greatness.
I think it will. I honestly do think it will, Joe. I don't think it cannot. The way that Artur Beterbiev fights, right, it's going to be something that maybe Bivol hasn't seen before. So Bivol's going to have to adjust. He's got great feet. He's got great punch selection, Bivol. And he's got good shot selection in his own right. I mean, you might think that Beterbiev just throws shots hoping that one lands, but he might not be as accurate, but he throws so many shots when he's got you backed up against them ropes around the corner that it's almost impossible for you to get out of there. So it'll be interesting to see how Bivol deals with that. But like I say to you, Bivol's got great feet. I think as soon as his back heel or his back touches them ropes, he's gone. He won't let Beterbiev pin him on them ropes. And yeah, I'm buzzing for it, man. I can't wait. Like I say, you said you can't pick a winner. I can't pick a winner. I really can't. This is a genuine 50-50 fight where I can sit on the fence and I can sit back, relax, watch it, and enjoy it. I don't have a horse in this race. I'm just going to sit back, relax, and enjoy an absolutely great fight. A fight that I think, and I'm going to put it out there with some great fights this year. This is going to be fight of the year. I just think the styles are going to gel perfectly because there's two contrasting styles, and they've got to try and figure each other out. So I'm just going to put that on the line. This will be fight of the year. If it isn't, clip this, tag me, and call me whatever you want. But that's how confident I am. You might agree or not, Joe, but I cannot wait for it.
Yep, cannot wait. Not long to go now. What are we about? 7, 8 weeks?
7 weeks, I think, tomorrow. No, what's the day? Is it Thursday? 7 weeks Saturday, I think. Is it?
Yeah,
no,
8 weeks.
No,
well,
Joe,
7, 8 weeks. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
We've got under 2 months to wait. That's all that matters.
7 weeks. 7 weeks on Saturday. There you go.
There you go.
7 weeks
there
Saturday.
You go.
7 weeks Saturday. Joe, what you up to now then? What's next for you, son?
Well, I was very tired today, I'll be honest, mate. 9-hour round trip to Liverpool yesterday. Drove up and down. And then I'm about to go and have a game of tennis, to be honest, mate.
Tennis? I think you've got one set. I think you've got one set in you, and then you're done.
I've recently taken it up, mate. So
when you take
slow
up,
and steady.
When you take up paddle tennis, right? Have you seen paddle tennis?
Yeah, it's the very in thing, isn't it?
Yes. I like it, mate. I love that sport. When you take that up, right? Whenever if we end up going to a show in Liverpool, Manchester, we'll find a paddle court, and me and you will have a game.
Okay, I'm up for that.
Deal.
But in the meantime, I'm just gearing up for Dublin, mate. That's all I'm doing. It's gearing up for Dublin. Can't wait.
Make sure you get work done. I know you'll be. You'll be in Temple Bar swinging from the lampposts. I know you will, but enjoy it. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Listen, pleasure to speak to you. Hopefully, we'll get another chat next week. Hopefully, something will pop up or something will happen that will give us an excuse to do a show. But until then, Joe, enjoy. In fact, we'll talk about Misfits. That's what we'll do next week. We'll talk about Misfits, and you can almost introduce me to the game and who's who and what's what. How's that?
Okay, well,
Well,
it's going
you
to be a
have-
difficult task, but miracles can happen.
Listen,
Andrew, thank you very
Guinness-
much, mate.
Guinness in hand. Enjoy it. Thanks, Joe.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.